One person can make a significant difference in a lot of people's lives. I'm going to tell you about a woman whose name is Sue. She and members from her very small church came to an inner-city Des Moines church to serve supper to a group that's called the Supper Club. Supper Club is a group of people who are essentially homeless or who are on lower than low income. Many people are undocumented. Families come, individuals come, men, women of all ages. She saw on the wall there a sign that said, "Winter is coming," and there are a lot of people who won't have coats. Well, she knew more than just the sign on the wall. She could see the people who were sitting there at dinner, and her heart went out to them. So she went back to her very small church. She lived in a community of about 800. Her church had maybe 30 members, and said to many of the women in the United Methodist Women Group, which was about 8 or 9 women total, "We need to collect some coats and mittens and hats and scarves and so forth for these folks who are going to be very cold very soon." So they gathered up what they had and brought back, in the course of those couple of months, about 100 articles of winter clothing. Well, then they thought, again, the next winter, we can do this and we can do it even better. So they had a few more months to collect things, and ultimately wound up with about 250 winter garments of hats and coats and gloves and so on. So they had pretty much cleaned out their closets when the third winter season came around. So they began to share this to other people in the community. As I said, there are about 800 residents in this very small town in rural Iowa. Well, to make a long story short, there were about 500 articles of clothing that were brought in by a consortium of people in this very small town. Year 4 comes along, and everybody's cleaned out their winter clothes closet. There were some new things that were there, and some very clean, but more than gently used items, caring for people who wouldn't have had a sweatshirt or anything to stay warm. So they began to share the word with other United Methodist churches in the general community areas around where they were. Well, they just delivered some things about 3 weeks ago. They had over 800 articles of clothing. One woman said, "I'll help you cart stuff down to the city." Well, when she saw how many things had been put together in boxes, men's coats, women's coats, clothing for the fall season for children, all carefully marked out and by size, carefully laundered and folded as though it were going to be brought to the finest of the retail stores, the woman said, "I best go back and get more than my truck." She and her husband had just bought a new horse trailer, and literally this horse trailer was full to capacity. So one person can make a difference, starting from just being aware, sensitive, and seeing brothers and sisters in need, and then finding that we can do it when we do it together in mission and ministry, caring for each other.